Okay, let's unpack this. It's an experience that I think almost everyone can relate to. You're on your path, you have a plan, a real longing for where your life is headed.
Right.
And then just boom. A decision made thousands of miles away by someone you've never met completely changes everything.
Yeah, your life is suddenly not your own. It's been detoured.
I read this really powerful story about that feeling. A person had planned this big trip to the Holy Land after finishing military service.
Yeah.
They were going to spend their first Christmas in Bethlehem. I mean, a trip of a lifetime.
Wow, yeah.
And 2 weeks before they're set to leave, the whole thing is canceled.
Why?
Because of 9/11.
Yeah.
An event 7,000 miles away.
Oh, yeah.
That's a visceral taste of what we're talking about.
That feeling of powerlessness, that's exactly where we're starting this deep dive.
So our mission today is a spiritual journey. And we're starting in a place you might not expect for the Christmas story.
We're starting in Rome. We're looking at sources that connect the historical power of the Roman Empire to, our modern lives.
And the core question here, it's a big one, is what does it mean to live out our faith in Rome?
In that metaphorical place where someone else's decision just completely overshadows your own deepest desires.
Right. And the gospel writer Luke, he gets this. He anchors his story right away in real-world politics.
Exactly. This isn't a fairy tale he's telling. He's making a statement that these events are rooted in the machinery of imperial power.
So we're starting in Rome because Rome makes first move.
Rome forces the action that gets Mary and Joseph on the road to Bethlehem in the first place.
Okay, let's jump straight into the source. Luke chapter 2. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world.
And then he adds that incredibly specific detail.
This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria.
Luke is basically telling his audience, look, this is real. This happened at a specific time under a specific governor. He's validating the story.
So let's talk about the man making the call. Caesar Augustus.
Well, Caesar was a title, not just a name. Augustus was the adoptive son of Julius Caesar, and he was the architect of something called the Pax Romana.
The Roman peace, which sounds great on paper.
It does. And it was a period of, relative peace and prosperity. But you have to ask, for who?
For Roman citizens, I imagine.
Exactly. For the conquered people, like those in Judea, this peace was enforced by the military. It was peace through submission.
And this empire was huge. It stretched all around the Mediterranean.
And they controlled it with the classic stick and the carrot. The stick was the army, the hard power.
And the carrot.
The carrot was their soft power. Things like roads, government, and crucially for this story, a certain kind of religious tolerance.
That religious part is so important. Rome's policy was basically to absorb the religions of the people they conquered.
That's right. You could worship hundreds of gods. It didn't matter to them as long
as you worship the emperor above all of them.
Yes, he was the ultimate divine authority. And that brings us to the Jews.
Who believed in one God, Yahweh.
The one and only God. So for them, this was impossible. It was a deal breaker.
And that made Judea a constant political hotspot for Rome. Always a risk of insurrection.
Which is why they had such a heavy military presence there.
So Caesar Augustus orders the census. What was the point? Why cause all this disruption?
It really comes down to power and control. It was about knowing who you rule, who owes you taxes. It was an assertion of Roman authority.
There's a great insight on this from Rob Fouquet. He defines Rome in a way that just clicks.
What's the definition?
He says Rome is that place where decisions impact your life beyond your control.
That's it. The census was the ultimate symbol of that. Mary and Joseph had their own plans, their own home.
Their own longing for a quiet life.
And they were forced onto the road by a financial decree from an emperor they would never, ever meet.
And 2,000 years later, we are all still subject to Rome.
Absolutely. It just looks different.
It's not a dusty road to register for a tax, but think about it. Decisions made in Washington, D.C. or on Wall Street.
Or in a corporate boardroom halfway across the world.
Right. A government policy changes, and suddenly a program your family relies on is gone.
Or the Federal Reserve raises rates, and your mortgage payment shoots up.
Yeah, your dream of buying a house or keeping your small business afloat, it's suddenly in jeopardy because of a decision you had no say in.
That's a forced detour. That's a moment where Rome makes the call for you.
So the question becomes, a spiritual one. When that happens, when your life feels so fragile, how does your faith respond?
How do you stay faithful or even thankful when that external pressure feels like it's crushing you?
And this is why the sources point us to the Apostle Paul, a Roman citizen writing to Christians in the city of Rome itself.
He got it. He knew what it felt like to live under that massive, ever-present power.
He understood how hard it was to maintain hope.
And he tackles this Rome problem head-on in his letter in Romans chapter 8. He starts by just acknowledging the reality of pain.
He doesn't sugarcoat it.
Not at all. He says, yes, suffering is real, but then he urges them to wait patiently for God's glory to be revealed.
He uses that analogy of childbirth, right? The pain is intense, but it's leading to something new.
Exactly. It's a pain with a purpose.
But I have to ask, waiting. When you're suffering because of some external force, doesn't waiting just feel passive, like giving up?
That's a great question, and it's a crucial distinction. For Paul, waiting isn't passive resignation.
Okay.
It's an active, hopeful endurance. It's about clinging to hope while Rome is still in charge.
So you're not just sitting there.
No, it's a life-giving act because you choose your attitude while you wait. Am I going to wait with despair or with hope, with grumbling or with gratitude?
That choice of attitude, that feels like where the power is.
It's everything. The sources call it a God reigns attitude.
A GR attitude. Gratitude.
Right. It's transforming gratitude from just a feeling you have when things are good
into a fundamental posture, a choice.
Yes. When the world feels out of control, it's the active choice to acknowledge that God still reigns over all earthly powers.
Even when it doesn't look like it.
Especially when it doesn't look like it.
And let's be honest, Rome is a hard, hard place for faith because it makes you want to trust in the visible power, in Caesar.
It does. But what's so amazing, and this is the great paradox, is how God has this mysterious way of working through Rome.
Okay, unpack that.
Well, look at Mary and Joseph again. They were forced to go to Bethlehem, a journey they did not choose.
An uncomfortable, expensive, difficult journey.
But by taking that forced detour, they ended up in the exact right place.
To fulfill the prophecy from the book of Micah.
The ancient prophecy.
Yeah.
Out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel.
The irony is just, it's cosmic.
It is. God used the decree of Caesar Augustus, the man who thought he ruled the world, to fulfill his ultimate promise.
Caesar thought he was just doing accounting.
And God was using that imperial act to position his son in the city of David.
So the obstacle, the very thing they wouldn't have chosen, it became God's pathway.
Exactly. Rome became an unwitting tool for God's plan. That's a breathtaking thought.
So what does God's reign mean for us then? Because it doesn't mean our problems just disappear.
No, it doesn't mean God is going to fix our politics or economy tomorrow just the way we want.
It's not a magic wand.
It's not. What it means is that God is doing something much bigger than any empire or any stock market or any political fight.
And that God's justice will eventually be revealed.
In God's time. And holding on to that promise is what allows us to wait with hope instead of despair.
With gratitude, not grumbling, even when our personal Rome is having its way with us.
And that brings us to the practical part. How do we actually do this? How do we cultivate this attitude?
The sources lay out 3 really specific practices. The first one is, name your Rome.
This is about honesty. You have to identify the place or the situation where you feel powerless right now.
Where decisions beyond your control are affecting your life.
It takes courage because it means admitting you're not fully in control.
Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is, look for God in the detour.
We have to actively ask, where might God be working in this circumstance I didn't choose?
Because Mary and Joseph couldn't see the big picture while they were on that road.
They just saw the dust and the hardship.
Yeah.
Hope isn't certainty. Hope is the belief that God is present and at work even when you can't see the path clearly.
It calls for trust.
A lot of trust.
And the third practice is, practice one act of gratitude each day.
And this is key. It doesn't mean being thankful for the hardship. That's not what this is about.
Right. It's not spiritual gaslighting.
No. It's about finding one small, genuine thing you can give thanks for. The kindness of a stranger, the strength to get through the day, anything.
It's like resistance training for the soul.
It is. It trains you to look for signs that God still reigns, even when the power of Rome feels overwhelming.
There's a story that connects to this so perfectly. It's about a pastor's daughter. Her family went through this massive crisis, a true Rome moment right before Christmas. It was so bad the church leadership actually asked her parents not to come to the Christmas Eve service.
Wow. devastating.
She was heartbroken, but she decided to go by herself.
So she shows up at this candlelight service just carrying this immense cloud of grief.
And everyone is singing these beautiful Christmas carols, and she just starts crying. She felt like a total fraud, like her sadness was ruining the happy celebration for everyone else.
I can imagine that feeling.
And right there in that moment of despair, she felt this profound realization, like a communication with Jesus.
What did she feel?
She felt like she was saying, I'm ruining your party. And the response she felt in her spirit was, I came to that manger as a baby, not for those in celebration, but for those in mourning. I came for you in this moment, right here.
Dang.
It was in her personal Rome, in that helplessness, that God met her and showed her the real heart of Christmas.
A way she never could have learned in celebration alone.
So as we wrap this up, the big takeaway is that our journey, it starts in Rome. It starts in that place of powerlessness.
The place of the forced detour. But that's not the destination.
We're following Mary and Joseph, and we're following you on the way to Bethlehem.
And we stand on that promise from Christ himself, which frames the whole challenge. In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world.
And that really is the challenge we want to leave you with. Bring your current Rome with you, the decisions you didn't choose, the path you didn't want. Because if God can use the decree of Caesar Augustus, the most powerful man in the world, to fulfill a 700-year-old promise, how might God be working through the unexpected detour in your life right now?